Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you here this morning for this historic occasion. We're glad you're here. We tried to have better weather, but it didn't work out. We used it all up the last 2 days. We'd ask Reverend Jeff Ross to come and give our invocation.
Thanks, Mayor. It's great to be here. Still a beautiful day to be together in this community. I'll let you in on a little secret. Ministers have these little cheat sheets or cheat books. It's every denomination puts them out. They have prayers for all different types of occasions. And we can just thumb through and read the appropriate prayer. I've looked and I've looked and I've looked. There is no prayer for diving bells anywhere. So we're going to have to do this on our own. Let us pray. Wonderful, gracious God, we give you thanks for the rich history that this area has. And we give you thanks for folks who are passionate about it, want to tell the story of Dahlonega, want to tell the stories that we have that remind us of where we came from and who we are. We give you thanks for the folks that have made this possible, that continue to make this such a wonderful town and place. We give you thanks for the history that we have in you, for the history we have as a people in these United States, for the history that we have as a people in Georgia. And we ask you to guide us. We give you thanks again for this community and the opportunity that we have to live and to prosper and to enjoy friendships and freedoms in this land. And we just ask you to help use this as something that draws folks to Dahlonega, that tells the story, that helps us celebrate who we are and the resourcefulness of this community in all kinds of times. We thank you for your blessing on this land. For it's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you. And we do live in a beautiful place. I don't know of any other place I want to live. I bought 2 cemetery lots, so I'm going to be dead. I'm going to be buried here. I'm not leaving. I'd like to recognize a special guest and officials, Appalachian Regional Commission Representative James Thompson, right here. Thank you, James. Senator Johnny Isaacson, Representative Tate O'Rourke. Where's Tate? Oh, there she is over there. Senator Chambliss Representative Marseille Simpson. Representative-elect Kevin Hamby. Kevin. And our current representative who's retiring after this year, after 10 years. I think it's 12 years. I cut you off. You're older than I thought you were. State Representative Amos Amerson. NGCSU President Dr. Benita Jacobs. Thanks for coming. The City Council members Bruce Hoffman, Johnny Ariema, Sam Norton, Ralph Prescott, Terry Peters, and Gerald Lloyd. They're all around here somewhere. County Commissioners Bill Scott and John Raber, Chairman. Our Sheriff, Stacy Gerard. Here somewhere. Thank you, Sheriff. Let me give a special thanks to everybody. Mike Cottrell and I were talking before this meeting, and this has truly been a public-private partnership. It's the city has contributed, as well as most of you out there have contributed something. So I want to recognize a few that has contributed. Of course, the Appalachian Regional Commission, Tennessee Valley Authority, Cottrell Foundation, Lynn and Mike Cottrell, Bill and Helen Hardman, Cottrell Incorporated, Cottrell Ranch, the Lumpkin County Historical Society, the Dahlonega Lumpkin County Chamber of Commerce, Chestatee. Of course, the city donated the land and many staff hours. City engineers and project coordinator Ricky Stewart. Richard Owens, who's Owens Environmental Design Architect, designed this for us. David Hardequin, structural engineer. Tommy Tritt, builders. Tommy's here somewhere. A while ago. Tommy? Oh, there he is back there in the back. All right. Thank you, Tommy. Great job. Don't y'all think he did a great job? And Floyd Wimpy, who did all the concrete work. And Floyd, where are you? He did a great job too. And I'm sure somebody will explain a little more about the concrete as we go along. It's my pleasure now to introduce the Historical Society, I think the President, Ann Amerson. And she's going to make some remarks, and then Chris Warwick, who is going to make a brief history of the bell. And so, Ann, if you'll come on.
I'm not the president of the Historical Society, however, but I am an active member. And it's wonderful to see all of you here today. We appreciate your coming out on such a chilly, frosty morning, and we hope you think it's worthwhile. Those of us who've been actively involved in it for some time are sort of grinning from ear to ear this morning to be able to reach this point. The voyage of the Chestatee River diving bell through the river of time has taken many years, and the efforts of many people, literally hundreds of people, have been involved in this and have contributed their time, their energy, their expertise, and last but not least, their money. You'll find the names of many of those who've made significant contributions to the project on our donor plaque mounted here on the boulder beside the pavilion. In 1991, when I first saw the rusty old hulk that had been pulled out of the Chestatee River a decade earlier, I had no idea it was anything other than an interesting curiosity. At that time, I did write an article about it, but I didn't see the bell again or even think much about it until 2007. At that time, it came to my attention that our, quote, interesting curiosity was in fact a unique early submersible. That was a new word for me, submersible. Probably the only one of its kind still in existence. Little did I know then that I would spend the next 5.5 years researching the bell, interviewing people about the bell, writing about the bell, talking about the bell. I'm still talking about the bell. When I first started telling people about the discovery of a diving bell that was used in the mountains of North Georgia to pan the river, the bottom for gold, they looked at me like I was crazy. However, when nationally known maritime archaeologists learned about the artifact and became interested in it, they confirmed that it is a rare and highly significant archaeological treasure. Our first goal was to get the bell restored before rust destroyed it. That was accomplished in the summer of 2010 through the generosity of Cottrell Industries. Our second goal was to display the bell for others to view, and that goal has been reached today. This is indeed a day of great excitement and fulfillment. Now I'm going to turn the microphone over to my friend and fellow historian, Chris Warwick. Chris has served as the very capable chairman of the Diving Bell Committee, which was formed in 2009 with a mission to rescue, restore, and display this remarkable artifact. Much of what we know about the history of the bell was a result of Chris's research and his dedication to the project. And he's still finding missing pieces of the puzzle. So, Chris?
I've been associated with the Lumpkin County Historical Society for about the past 4.5 years, and almost from the start when I first became involved with the society, Ann pretty much recruited me to help her out with this story about this diving bell. It just so happened at that time I was doing a lot of research about the history of the gold mining industry here in Dahlonega and Lumpkin County, and I just kind of found the place that the story about the diving bell was coming up about the time that I was researching, and so once I became involved and interested in it, it just kind of took on a life of its own. The story of the Chestatee River diving bell has been 140 years in the making. In an age of iron and steam power, men of vision were challenging the limits of mechanical engineering. Philologus Hawkins Loud was one of these pioneers. Helping to charter the Georgia Gold Mining Company in 1872, Loud envisioned the idea of using a caisson or diving bell to mine for river gold. The Chestatee, Etowah, and Chattahoochee rivers were thought to contain untapped deposits of auriferous gravel lying untouched in their murky bottoms. Since the first gold seekers had arrived in North Georgia in 1829, the problem had always been how to get to the gold in the deep portions of the rivers. Primitive attempts using long-handled shovels or diverting sections of the river had met with limited success. Loud's idea was simple. Instead of bringing the riverbed sand up to the miners, let's bring the miners to the gravel on the riverbed using an iron submersible. In the autumn of 1875, Loud's idea became a reality when his specially built boat named the Chestatee began moving slowly upriver with the diving bell on board. However, plagued by mechanical failures, bad weather, and financial difficulties, Loud's grand experiment struggled to survive. Less than a year later, in October of 1876, the boat and the diving bell on board sank under mysterious circumstances. Unable to be recovered, the ship was abandoned to the sands of time. Soon the only reminder of Loud's folly was the diving bell airlock rising from the river like a silent sentinel of a bygone age. Rediscovered in 1981, the diving bell has undergone a long and uncertain future until now. It is only fitting that this unique visitor from our past should make its final port of call here in Hancock Park. The Owens family, who are represented here today, have a very special connection to the diving bell. It was on the river property of the Owens Farms that the diving bell made its unlikely reappearance. Recognizing its historic value, the family wished to donate the artifact to the Dahlonega Gold Museum in 1993. However, DNR ultimately declined the request, citing restoration costs and lack of available space outside the museum. We are very fortunate, however, to have Richard Owens chosen to be the architect of the pavilion in the plaza. The design for such a special relic demanded a unique and symbolic structure which only Richard's talents could create. The relationship of the diving bell and the Owens family has now come full circle. If we look at the actual pavilion and plaza here, there's a lot of symbology here. The outline at the base of the diving bell is represented by a 50 by 17 square that reflects the dimensions of the actual diving bell boat. The riverbank and the water are highlighted by the varying shades of the pebbled surface. Landscaping incorporates native plant species to the area, particularly found along the Chestatee. Quarry and landscaping stones were donated by the Consolidated Gold Mines, representing the mining aspect. And finally, mortise and tenon techniques were used to construct the pavilion, which reflect an old world style of craftsmanship. Today's ceremony marks the end of a chapter, but not the story. There is still much to be learned about this iron submersible and its defining role in river mining in Georgia. The desire to preserve our history by scores of individuals are a testimonial to the spirit of a small-town community coming together in support of a worthy cause. This wonderful addition to Hancock Park will be your legacy. On a personal note, I'd like to recognize the Lumpkin County Historical Society, the Diving Bell Committee, and the Diving Bell Fundraising Committee for donating their time and talents and resources. At this time, I'd like to call the members of the committee names off, and if you could stand up to recognize. For the Diving Bell Committee, Ann Amerson, Perry Abernathy, Amy Booker, Manny Carvalho, Ben LaChance, Ron Larson, Gerald Lord, Jay Markwalter, and Gary McCullough. Thank you. For the fundraising committee, who helped us gather the necessary financial resources we need to help make this project come to fruition, Mike and Lynn Cottrell, co-chairs, Bill and Helen Hardman, co-chairs, Amy Booker, please stand up, Tony and Linda Faia, Amber and Kevin French, Wayne Knuckles, Ron and Linda Larson, Steve and Julie Libel, Gary and Jane Osley, David Potter, Jerry and Debbie Smith, and Stephen Smith. Thank you. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. His generosity was truly the turning point in making this project come to fruition. The citizens of Dahlonega owe him a great debt. Please welcome Mr. Mike Cottrell.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is a real nice day. And what do you think about the diving bell? I mean, seriously. We've heard from, the architects did a great job, the contractors, the workers, everybody just did a fabulous job. And we've heard from Ann and from Chris, and without them, we wouldn't even know what this is. I mean, can you imagine walking out in the woods and running on this and saying, that's a diving bell? Oh, a diving bell. I mean, we wouldn't know that. There's no way we would know that. And they have worked tirelessly over the years to bring us the information about the diving bell. And we certainly appreciate that and appreciate all the work that they've done. What I want to do is I just want to take you from for the last 2.5 years that we have been working on it. When I say we, I'm talking about the community that's been working on this thing for the last 2.5 years to get it to where it is today. And I want to, in doing that, I just want to recognize some main players. And the first one is Ron Larson and the Chestatee. They donated the diving bell to the community, and I think we owe them a great indebtedness for that. So. Also, and I don't know who formed it, but the Chestatee Diving Bell, the Chestatee River Diving Bell Committee, they spent countless meetings and countless hours and detailing, how we're, going to get to this point. And so that was very much needed, and they did an excellent job. Also, people like Bill and Helen Hardman, who early in this project established the Diving Bell Fundraising Committee. And you folks that know Bill and Helen know that they jump right in there and they stir up more stuff than you can shake a stick at. They're the ones that got Lynn and I involved in the diving bell to begin with, and they're the Diving Bell Fundraising Committee basically figured out how to raise money for this pavilion, and that's what they worked on. That's what they did. Also, gratitude goes to my wife, Lynn Cottrell, with her fundraising skills. She certainly played a major role in the fundraiser. So I give all of them a great hand. If it weren't for the support of our mayor, Gary McCullough, our city manager, Bill Lewis, and all the right votes from the city council, this bell wouldn't be here. So I think they did an outstanding job, and without a hitch and a lot of work, they got this thing pushed through. I also like to recognize Wayne Knuckles and the Dahlonega Nugget. They're to be commended for all the reporting. They followed this bell from the recovery to the restoration, from the fundraiser to placement here in Hancock Park, and I'm sure they're covering this also today. And he's right there, right. And also want to thank them for all their promotions that they did for the fundraiser through advertisements in the paper. So that was excellent. And they played a community role. They really did. Because of the promotions from Amy Booker and the Dahlonega Chamber of Commerce, the bell moved forward. If it weren't for the guys at Cottrell Incorporated, Steve Katona, Terry Mintz, James Huggins, and Everett Nally, who put their heart and soul and many hours restoring the bell wouldn't be here. But those hours they put in, understand, is over and above their normal jobs. So this was an extra project for them, and I think they did it. I mean, look at it. What do you think? I think they did an outstanding job. The other thing that people don't talk about is the transportation. I mean, you would not believe, the transportation. Every time you move this thing, you got to have a crane, and you got to have a half a dozen people. So what did we do? We retrieved it from the weeds and high grass out in the Chestatee. And we went out there and looked at it. We retrieved it from there. We took it down to Gainesville and restored it. Then once we restored it, we brought it up to the ranch, put it out the barn, and had a fundraiser and unveil it. And then once we did that, we put it in a secure location for 2 years and stored it for 2 years. And then we put it back together and brought it out here and set it up. And Kelly Westmoreland was the guy that was in charge of all that transportation, cranes, and everything. He deserves a big hand. I mean, you don't think about that as being a big job. That's really a big job. Got competition now. This is the best one that really touched my heart in this whole project. If it were not for over 500 members of our community coming together at the fundraiser and giving over $40,000 for building the pavilion, the Diving Bell wouldn't be here. I think the community deserves a hand. Also, I would be amiss if I didn't mention the Cottrell Foundation providing the resources to complete the project. And the bottom line, the way I see it, is this. This project has been an effort of many people. We all have a lot to be proud of. We have restored and preserved a historic relic, a part of Dahlonaga's gold mining history, and placed it here in Hancock Park for many generations to enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. The refreshments over here were provided by the Picnic Cafe today, so after we get through here, you can enjoy coffee and cookies and some good food. And the Lumpkin County Historical Society has Diving Bell's T-shirts for sale, just in case y'all want to remember this day. We got those for sale. If you want to learn more about the Diving Bell and how it was used, we have interpretive signage around the building, and you can read it, and it really does a great job of telling you how they used it. And y'all all stay in Dahlonega and eat lunch. I wish we could buy lunch for all, but we can't. So y'all stay here and eat. We need the revenue. And our Christmas parade, I would mention it this Saturday, and the lighting of the tree on the square. And so y'all, we got a big weekend and a big whole month-long celebration of Christmas here in Dahlonega. And if you're on Facebook, Jack Anthony is taking pictures of the Dahlonega at night with it lit up. And it's really, Jack does great work, and it's really nice if y'all can get on there and look at it and see how nice Dahlonega looks at night. Let me say one thing more about Mike Cottrell. I know he gets tired of being talked about, but we had a ribbon cutting for something, I forget what it was, and Mike asked me how the Diving Bell was coming along, and I said, well, we're about $50,000 short, and it looks like we're going to have to cut back on something. He said, well, maybe we need to have another fundraiser or something. We need to do this thing right. He said, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. Well, about an hour, my phone rang, and Mike said, I think Lynn and my foundation can donate $50,000 to complete the project. So let's give Mike a standing ovation here. And Lynn. And this would not be here if it wasn't for them. I know that a lot of other people, the city contributed to land. A lot of other people, as Mike has said, has contributed, and it really is a public-private partnership, but without him it wouldn't be completed. We're going that's really the end of our ceremony. I'm going to invite the officials. We're going to take about 4 pictures of